I don't feel like there is equal accountability here. And I'll tell you what I mean. I'll give you a couple of examples. When I was working at TMZ, the guys there would speak in Yiddish. They would speak in Yiddish. I would hear certain terms. I'd be like, what's going on? What's happening there? I asked a girl that worked there named Carly Steinberg. She just got married. I was like, what are they talking about? What are they saying? And she taught me some Yiddish words. She taught me a word, goy, which is, I guess, when you're not a Jew, you're outside of it. She taught me, there was a couple of other words that she taught me. Then she taught me one word, and the word was Schwarzer. And she was like, if you ever hear yourself referred to as a Schwarzer, that's bad. And I was like, why is that bad? And she was like, well, that's like the N word in Yiddish. That's like a Yiddish word that means, that's a slur to Black people. She's like, it's not something that I say, but like my grandparents and other people like that, you would hear them say it. It's like, well, why would that word exist? I think that what we have to confront in both of our communities is the pernicious elements of it. I do think that there is an anti-Black sentiment that led to the way Jamie Foxx was dealt with here. Sarah Silverman, very famously, did a sketch in blackface. Whenever she's asked to reconcile that, it's always in the context of cancel culture. She's able to walk through society without having to get on her knees and go, please, 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 Black people, forgive me. She just doesn't have the same burden. I mean, Nick Cannon, for all of the actually dangerous things that were said on that podcast, had to do an entire circuit of education, of going places to make sure everyone knew that anything that you might think was burning in the embers of his mind was not there. It doesn't seem like it's the same. And I would be like lying if I didn't say that the first conversation that needs to be had about how Black people are treated and how they have been treated here in America, and any community that's been involved in that, we have to excise that before we can get to a place where we can build.
Without getting into the question of Yiddish linguistics,
which I'm an expert on, by the way.
Obviously, I took that for granted. But just in case Rachel's not, it's definitely not the equivalent of the N-word. Like, just historically, linguistically, like, you have people who literally came over here, like, couldn't speak English. There's no way, like, just historically, there's just no possible way for that to be the case. Is that may be how, like, assimilated Jews, like the kind of chameleon type that I described earlier, use it, because that's kind of their way to escape all of the censorship around the actual N-word. And that's a problem. I think this is why it's really, really important to distinguish between different types of communities. Like, yes, there are bigotries, just like there are bigotries in your community against the Jewish community. There are bigotries in the Jewish community against the Black community. And depending on the community, those bigotries actually have very different flavors. And it's important to distinguish them so you can combat them. We could go back and forth for literal hours and hours and days, tallying up all the culturally specific grievances that we have. And we have them, and they're all real. I don't want to minimize them. Like, they truly are real. In the short term, neither of us are going to feel satisfied by that conversation. There is a possible world in which our communities are friends in the truest sense. We have loyalty towards each other. We show kindness towards each other. We fight for each other's justice and for our own justice, and all of those fights emerge out of a shared ethic of dreaming and of hope. The question, therefore, we have to ask ourselves is kind of the question that Esther gets asked by Mordecai in the book of Esther, which is, listen, I don't know why you got here. I can't explain it. But who knows if the reason you came to this kingship is for a moment such as this.